Hello, friend. This is Orna again. And this time, I would like to talk to you about the divine union and the purpose of mating according to the Kabbalah. It seems like relationships are becoming a painful issue for many people in our generation. I would like to refer here to your closest relationships and whether you are already in one or seeking a partner for life. I believe that the complexity of our relationships stems from our attitudes and beliefs and a lot of confusion. Most of us have a set of expectations about the perfect partner for life and how our most meaningful relationship should look like. Everyone is looking for a perfect soulmate, the one that will align with them at all levels and will understand and know them in depth. Many of us do not understand the real purpose of close relationships. So let's put things in order and try to figure out this sensitive subject. Since I'm teaching the Kabbalistic point of view, which makes a lot of sense to me, here are the questions that I will try to answer. The first one: what is our soulmate according to the Kabbalah? Another one is, would we have the privilege of meeting our soulmate in this time life? And how are twin souls formed? Well, according to the Kabbalah, the soul of man was first created in the upper worlds as a double-faced entity, one energetic body with two aspects, male and female. It was one entity whose two halves were attached to each other back to back. I'm going to show you an illustration. You can see one weird entity here composed of two halves. So, where do we learn about it? In chapter 5 of Genesis, it is written, when God created mankind, he made them in the likeness of God. He created them male and female and blessed them. And he named them mankind when they were created. Notice this strange phrasing of singular and plural, one entity which is composed of two. After the creation of this being, the Creator separated the dual soul into two separate entities, male and female, in a process called sewing. In Hebrew, in the Kabbalah language, it is nesirah. Remember that the two halves of the soul were connected back to back. Again, I'm showing it to you. And the question is, what does it mean to be a bipolar soul? When the two halves were attached back to each other, their eyes could not meet. In such a situation, the two halves of the soul were bound together against their will, unable to initiate a true union. After the sewing and separation, two independent halves were formed, which could connect to each other face to face by choice. And here is another illustration that I would like to show you. This is after the sewing process. Male and female as separate entities. This separation between the two halves of the primary soul was necessary to provide space for each one of them to go through their incarnations on their own, and possibly to connect with their other half by conscious choice in this world. Each half descends into the world as an independent identity, but energetically they are still connected and bonded together from time immortal. and always strive to reunite. So, after this explanation, we understand that each person has a heavenly mate. It is a spiritual half called a twin flame. When the two halves of the soul meet at the same incarnation, and this happens only rarely, it is indeed a cosmic union. The spiritual work they do together has a high spiritual significance that affects all of humanity and resonates in the upper worlds. What actually happens is that the twin soul does not always incarnate with us into this particular lifetime, and this happens from several reasons. Mainly because of the learning and rectification needs of a particular soul. In the Zohar interpretation to Parashat Mishpatim, in the book of Exodus, there's a reference to a person who incarnates into this world without his twin flame. And it says, alone he comes and alone he leaves this world. Does that mean that the individual soul remains alone all his life? Not necessarily. In this case, he or she receives a substitute spouse for the present incarnation, for the purpose of experiencing and learning in the world. The alternate spouse that we receive in this lifetime does not always continue with us through other lifetimes. They may be a one-time event in our entire context of incarnations. As we know, the most accelerated learning in life happens through our relationships. And therefore, everyone is encouraged to get married and build a family. And here I remind you of the issue I mentioned already. We are quite confused regarding to the purpose of our relationships and mating. We expect that everything will be wonderful forever after. And when in fact, our relationships give us the opportunity to grow by overcoming challenges, of living with a different person in a pressure cooker. And indeed, most relationships look like that. When things go wrong, we are discouraged and want to quit. This explains the difficulty that we all have in maintaining long-term relationships. Think about it. There is a story about Aaron, the great priest, who had a righteous wife. Elisheva was her name. Elisheva was not his cosmic mate because his original twin flame, his second half in the upper worlds, was not born yet in his lifetime. Despite of that, it was a successful match, and a lot of learning was achieved through it. So, after all, why do we have such a huge expectation from our relationships or marriage? Because of our primal memory of the existence of our twin soul. We have an idyllic picture of total match, an absolute soul connection to someone who complements us on all levels and knows us exactly the way we are. We have a built-in longing to our second half. We still have the ancient memory of a total, true, and ideal union. And what happens in reality? Most people connect in their life with a close soul, a soulmate, which is usually part of the group of souls in the upper worlds, or with a soul with whom we have a certain karmic debt. A certain rectification that has to be resolved with that certain soul that we are supposed to meet in this lifetime. As we know, marriage is the most advanced laboratory for accelerated spiritual growth. Many people set themselves unrealistic standards and expectations from their prospective partners for life. Because of that, we tend to disqualify people at first sight without giving ourselves a chance to go to know them, to get to know them in depth. We tell ourselves that there is somebody else around the corner who is much better for us and who is more compatible for us. And then we get disappointed time after time and suffer from one heartbreak after the other. This is the reason why so many people in our society encounter so many difficulties in finding the right match and maintaining a long-term relationship. And whether this makes it easier for you or not, let's remember that before we are incarnated into this world, we sign a contract with a close soul whom we plan to meet in this lifetime to build a close relationship. In order to materialize this encounter and meet the soulmate that we decided to meet here, we have to do a few things. We have to sharpen our senses to recognize and find this soul. The knowledge about the close soul with whom we're supposed to unite has been imprinted in us in advance so that we can notice it when we see it. One of the ways to recognize this close soul is through direct eye contact. Looking deeply into the other person can help us identify the soul we have already known in the upper worlds. And unfortunately, we're losing this ability or this desire to look at each other's eyes because nowadays it is considered as invasion to privacy, and we're losing a lot by that. Think about it. There's more help that we receive here in this world, which is part of the spirit guides that accompany us along this lifetime. One of the roles is to make sure that we meet the spouse we're supposed to meet in this life, and they make sure that we get into the situations that will allow us to meet that person. And there is another important point. In the Gemara, it is written, matchmaking is as difficult as splitting of the Red Sea. Indeed, the whole issue of romance and marriage is particularly charged in this age. I hope this teaching gave you some food for thought, and I would like to thank you for being with me, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.